Hey film fans, you're in the cinema and you've gone to watch a movie that you don't know much about. Maybe it's an indie film, a foreign film, some sort of retrospective, something like that. Some movie that hasn't had the big PR push with trailers and posters on the sides of buses. You're happy to be there, you're sitting with your friend, the ads go, the trailers go, the movie starts, and from the first scene, you're mesmerized. It's a great film, it's a great narrative, great characters, it looks good, but there's something else. Yeah, you're absorbed in the story. Yeah, you're wondering what's going to happen. But at the same time, it starts to dawn on you that this movie is different. This movie is teaching you a new way to watch movies, to understand movies, to appreciate movies. And so as you sit there absorbed in the story, you're also filled with this sense of wonder at the possibility of cinema. I hope that's happened to you. It's happened to me a few times. I remember the first time I saw Do the Right Thing, mind blown. I was at a French New Wave retrospective the first time I saw Godard's Breathless, mind blown. When I went to see Kelly Reichardt's Wendy and Lucy, mind blown. And in the autumn of 1991, when I went to a midnight screening of Trust, directed by Hal Hartley, the subject of this episode of What Makes This Film Great. Trust is a 1990 film written and directed by Hal Hartley with cinematography by Michael Spiller, who also did The Unbelievable Truth, and this time edited by Nick Gomez. And I just want to say a word about release dates. With indie films, you'll often see 2 years, and the reason for that is that a lot of indie films get their first screenings at film festivals, maybe Sundance or Toronto or the Cannes Festival in France, and it can be some time before they then go out into wide release. So if you look up Trust, on some sites you'll see 1990, which was when it first started doing the festival circuit, and on other sites you'll see 1991, which is when it got a release into cinemas. So I call it a 1990 film, but some people might recall having first seen it in 1991, like me. And I just wanted to say a word about that because when I saw Trust, I don't know if it was the right time or the right place, but the film had a tremendous impact on me. It was the autumn of 1991, and I was doing a study abroad year here in Dublin, where I now live. I never would have imagined back then that I would end up living here one day, although I probably dreamed I might. And I was at UCD, University College Dublin, and as soon as I got there that fall, I joined the university's film club or film society. I don't remember what it was called, which basically meant that every week they showed a reel-to-reel film in one of the auditoriums, and they charged €1, or actually an Irish punt at the time. And if you were a member of the Film Society, you had a little card and you got in for free because you paid whatever it was, €10 or £10 a semester to be a member. And they also had little giveaways and events. I remember the director Jim Sheridan came and spoke to us once and things like that. And one of the things they did was they'd give out movie tickets, but to off screenings, you know? And so they were giving out tickets to a midnight screening in town, which if you know Dublin, UCD's a ways from town and the buses stopped running around 11 at night. So it was in town at midnight, and I was friends with a woman named Teresa, also American, and we decided to go together. I had never heard of Trust. I had never heard of Hal Hartley. I had never heard of Adrian Shelley. I was a 20-year-old kid who, you know, mostly watched Hollywood films, although by that point I had seen Do the Right Thing, which I mentioned at the top. We took the bus into town, we went into the cinema, we got our sodas or popcorn or whatever, sat down, and then this happened.
Dad, give me $5.
Listen to me, young lady. I've had just about all I'm going to take.
Mom, what's he talking about? Give me $5.
Listen to your father when he's talking to you.
But what's he talking about?
You know damn well what I'm talking about.
Maria, you've been thrown out of school.
I was not thrown out. I quit. Now give me $5.
You little...
John, stop it.
You wouldn't dare.
If I had my way
John,
around this...
shut up.
Well, what's gonna happen? What's she gonna do with her life?
I'm gonna get married.
To who?
To Anthony.
Terrific.
Maria, don't be silly. Anthony's going to college.
Only to play football. When he gets out, he'll be going to work with his father doing construction, and he'll be pulling in a really bitchin' salary. We'll be like totally hooked.
Don't smoke in the house.
Besides, he's gotta marry me. I'm gonna have a baby.
That's it.
That's what?
I will not have a goddamn tramp living in my house.
Mom, do you hear what he called me? Bastard.
Slut.
Daddy!
Get out.
So there.
John.
Mom, home. Mom?
John.
What happened?
John.
He's dead.
From that opening scene, I was hooked. I was hooked by Adrienne Shelley. I was hooked by the bravura notion that you could start a film this way. I've since discovered lots of great openings, and I've since, my movie vocabulary and my movie watching experience has expanded greatly. But, as a 20-year-old who was used to blockbusters and things like that, I was blown away from the opening minutes of this film. And part of me for this video just wants to show you great scenes from this film. The problem is, there's this song from the 70s. It's fun, you can go out and check it out, called Bullfrog Blues by a folk singer named David Bromberg. And it's a love triangle song. It's kind of dumb and it's a little bit violent, but it's about a guy whose girlfriend is now with his roommate. And he's, in a lot of the song, what makes it funny is he describes like every detail of their apartment, and it has this real 70s vibe. So there's mohair carpets and bound collections of Lord of the Rings and things like this. And he describes looking at the apartment, and then he describes going into the apartment, and he mentions every one of these items again. It's quite funny. And one of the items is the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And the first time he mentions it, he says, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, autographed. And the next time, as he goes stumbling into the room, he says, and you stumble past the copy of The Prophet by Khalil Gibran with every significant passage underlined. Every word is underlined. Which I've always thought is funny and is a roundabout way of me saying every scene in Trust is great. Every moment of this film works. Every scene is firing on multiple cylinders. Performance, narrative, the cinematography, and within the narrative and the character development, every scene has several balls in the air at the same time. So there's what's happening right now between these characters, and there's also setups for later payoffs in the film. And it's just fantastic. And it's a joy to watch. And before I even get into talking about it, I'm just gonna say, go find this film and watch it. Do yourself a favor and watch Trust. As with The Unbelievable Truth, Trust once again stars Adrienne Shelley, and once again she plays a teenage girl late in her teen years about to finish high school. Only in this case her character is very different, whereas in The Unbelievable Truth she's kind of on an intellectual quest driven by her fear of impending nuclear doom, and she's reading all the time. In Trust, she's kind of a party girl who doesn't care that much about school and sees a life of marrying the quarterback right after high school and having a life of a famous guy's wife. That's not really what the film's about. That's her backstory. As you saw from the opening scene, what the film's really about is her surprise pregnancy and how the people around her react to the fact that she's pregnant, including her boyfriend, played once again by Gary Spower, who plays Anthony here. He was Emmett in The Unbelievable Truth. And where in that film, she broke up with him, here, he breaks up with her in the most unbelievably stupid male way.
I'm gonna have a baby.
What?
A baby, stupid.
Whose baby?
Yours, you jerk.
How could you be so stupid?
No, thanks a lot.
What are my parents gonna say? I've got a scholarship on the line.
What about me?
Oh, what about you? How could you let this happen?
I didn't just let this happen all by myself, you know.
Oh, don't try to pin the blame on me.
I'm not blaming you. It's just...
You did this on purpose.
I did not.
You did this to keep me from going away to college.
Anthony! You said we'd get married.
What?
You did. You said we'd get married.
You think I'd marry you now? Why would I marry you now? High school dropout. Pregnant.
The film also stars Edie Falco in a more substantial role than The Unbelievable Truth. Here she plays Maria's sister in quite a big and funny role throughout the film. And it stars Martin Donovan. And Donovan kind of takes on the role of Robert John Burke from The Unbelievable Truth. But whereas Burke's Josh was kind of on a path to redemption, he had done wrong in the past and now he just wanted to live a good and simple life. Donovan's Matthew is not looking for redemption. They're both sort of hulking, brooding, slightly older men, but Donovan's Matthew is angry and he wants to inflict that anger upon the world and upon those around him. He's an electrical genius, as his father says at one point in the film. He can fix anything, but he also hates everything he has to fix, as we can see in this scene.
Slaughter, what did I tell you about smoking on the premises?
Lay off, Ed.
What's the VKE doing over here?
Drop dead, hand me those pliers.
What's this?
This is a lost cause.
What
Ed.
is?
This!
You're gonna pay for that.
This crap isn't worth the time we put into it.
What's wrong with it?
It's cheap.
So?
Cheap!
Well, can't you fix it?
No.
Why not?
Some things shouldn't be fixed.
Well, you don't have a choice in the matter.
Matthew's problem, which is a serious one, is that his father is abusive. He's physically abusive, emotionally abusive, he's manipulative, he's cruel. He blames Matthew for the death of Matthew's mother, his wife, and so he's spent Matthew's entire life punishing him for this. So while on the one hand, Matthew is brilliant, he's insightful, he's deep down a good person, or let's say he has the potential to be a good person. On his surface, and in many of the layers below the surface, he's an angry, violent wreck. And in that way, he's a lot different from Josh from The Unbelievable Truth, who's trying to find peace and calm. Matthew's not there yet, or at least he's not actively looking for that. He's still looking to do damage, and many of the people in the town know it, as we can see from this scene when he enters his local bar.
Close the one. Close. I did close the one.
I wouldn't give Rango. I hate Rango.
Matthew, really sorry. Look, I'm turning it off.
Play it and shut up. Bring me a bottle of scotch. What the hell are you looking at?
Here you go, Matthew. It's on the house.
Shut up.
So, much like with The Unbelievable Truth, the film's going to be about the way Matthew and Maria kind of satellite around each other, come close to a relationship, a potential romantic relationship. They even talk about the possibility of a certain kind of relationship throughout the film. But whereas The Unbelievable Truth was about finding out how Josh could be a suitable partner despite the incidents in his past, with Trust, in a lot of ways it's much more difficult to see, because even though we can empathize with Matthew because of his wounds, at first he doesn't seem very suitable to this young woman who's going through this incredible ordeal and has been abandoned by most of the people who love her in her life. The film sets these two characters up and spends quite a bit of time on it. It's a very patient film, which comes as a shock because it's also a very fast-paced film. It's fast-paced in terms of the excellent dialogue. One scene goes directly to the next, and each scene builds fantastically on the previous one. But Matthew and Maria don't meet until almost a third of the way into the film, about 27 or 28 minutes in. And when they do meet, it's definitely not a meet cute. Matthew's come to this abandoned house because he's angry, he's getting drunk, he's pissed off at the world, and he comes upon Maria, who's been kicked out of her home, been sexually assaulted by a store owner, and has just witnessed the kidnapping of a baby outside that store. And she's cowering in fear. She doesn't know what she's going to do with her life. And this is their meet cute.
What do you want?
I don't want anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't think anything's gonna help.
What do you mean by that?
You drink all that beer by yourself?
Do you live around here?
Not far.
I don't have anywhere to go.
So?
Forget it. So what do you want?
I said I didn't want anything.
So then get lost.
What do you want?
I don't want anything from you, that's for sure.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Say it.
I need someplace to sleep.
There's an exchange of dialogue there that in some ways sets the theme of the film, but in some ways it's less of a theme and more of a challenge. And that's when she asks him, what do you want? And he says, I don't want anything. And she says, why not? And he says, because nothing's going to help. And it's this question, is there help for these people, that the film sort of poses as a challenge. And what happens is, throughout the film, Maria's plight draws out Matthew's empathy, which is there, but it's latent. It's buried deeply. And Matthew's kind of moral forthrightness, his sense of right and wrong, which is quite severe, draws out of Maria a deeper question or a deeper consideration of what is the right thing to do. At the beginning of the film, she seems content to just follow the flow of life wherever it takes her. And as she starts to spend time with Matthew, she starts to question more, like, what is right? And both of them develop these characteristics in relationship with each other, but also in relationship with one of the film's B stories, which is the baby snatching that I just mentioned, which is a very significant subplot that runs throughout the film, because the baby's kidnapped and Maria is pretty sure she knows who did it, but she doesn't necessarily know how to find that woman. So there's this subplot of Matthew and Maria working together to try to find the woman. This quest allows them to work together in a way that brings out the best of them with each other. So they're already kind of bringing it out of each other, but this effort to find the woman amplifies that. The other narrative strand in the film that amplifies this relationship is the question of whether or not Maria is going to have an abortion. And this is still kind of a touchy topic today, but back in 1990, this would have been a very significantly heavier, touchy topic. And the film handles this topic really well. One of my favorite shots in the film comes when we first meet the nurse, who's going to be kind of a guide or mentor. She's only in a few scenes, but a guide or mentor to Maria. And this is how we first meet her.
What kind of questions do you have?
And one of the things that I love about that scene is the way we know through the use of sound in the film that there's protesters outside of the clinic, and they get discussed later. It comes up over and over again. This violent, destructive force in the film that it does cause Maria to question whether or not she wants to have an abortion just by their presence. It also causes the nurse no end of strife, as we find out later in the film when, for instance, she goes into a diner, and as soon as she walks through the door, the proprietor says, "We don't want any trouble," because he knows who she is. So I think the film handles this really well, and Maria's decision about whether to have an abortion is never framed in moral questions. The film doesn't get hung up on this issue of whether or not abortion is right or not. The film operates from the position that whether or not to have an abortion is Maria's choice. And so her decision about it is driven not by this question of morality imposed upon her by her parents or a church or a moralistic society. It's driven by what is right for her. And as she kind of changes her mind throughout this decision-making process, Matthew, to his credit, is supportive of every change of mind that she makes. And so, to be fair, is her mother, who's otherwise kind of a monster in the film, a lovely, beautiful monster, but a monster nevertheless. The film is full of wonderful comedic touches, like this scene. Matthew's quit his job working on computers, and his dad gets him an interview at a TV repair shop, and he goes for the interview, and then when he comes out, he's greeted with this.
It was busted anyway.
I love this idea that for some reason, 1990, half the town needs to have their TVs repaired. It's a fantastic visual joke, and it flashes on screen for a second or so. It's also filled with this very sharp, Hartley dialogue, which we got a lot of in The Unbelievable Truth, but I think with Trust, it's even more pointed and more effective. I love this scene between Matthew and Maria's mother.
You ride Maria pretty hard.
How I raise my kids is none of your business.
Sorry. You like her more than Peg, don't you?
Who said anything about Peg?
I think Peg's prettier.
They're both pretty.
Peg's more level-headed, too. She's wild, always has been, made a mess of her marriage.
Maria sleeps on the floor.
You really do like her more, huh?
I don't like to see her torture herself.
Have you two been screwing around?
You want a cigarette?
Don't change the subject.
I haven't touched her.
I don't think she knows much about how to make love to a man.
She must know something. She's pregnant.
That's what I mean. A girl who knows how to make love to a man would never let that happen.
You think so?
You stand a better chance with Peg, you know? And I bet she's great in bed.
We don't have much in common.
When was the last time you were with a woman?
I don't remember.
I'm never gonna let you take Maria away from me.
I never said I wanted to.
She's gotta pay.
Your husband died of a heart attack.
No one dies of a heart attack. They die of disgust, disappointment.
You're not the first woman in the world who's had a hard time.
You're an outsider. You don't understand. A family's gotta stick together, come hell or high water.
Family's like a gun. You point it in the wrong direction, you're gonna kill somebody.
Exactly.
As you've no doubt been able to tell by some of the clips I've already shown here, the film once again features this kind of non-naturalistic dialogue and mannered performances. In some ways, I think Donovan pulls it off even better than Burke does, although Burke will return to Hartley movies in the future. And you need to be able to kind of get past that or work with it or live with it. It's part of, you know, Hartley's approach to filmmaking, and it's one of the reasons why performers show up again and again in his films, because he's found people who can deliver his dialogue and perform in the way that he thinks works for his films. And so you get these mannerisms, you get this non-natural dialogue, and you get the humor I've pointed out. And just like within The Unbelievable Truth, those elements are working all the time in front of our face. They unsettle you because you're not used to watching this kind of film, maybe. They make you laugh. They take a darkness in the film. Matthew's probably suffering from some very serious emotional problems and maybe some mental problems. And the film does play them for humor at first. And it's funny, but it's also a little bit disconcerting. And so you're always on the wrong foot in this film, but in ways that, as I said at the top, not only propel you to engage with the narrative, but propel you to engage with the film's form and the way the film goes about making itself in a way. But the other thing they allowed to do, just as in The Unbelievable Truth, is for these moments of quiet seriousness to penetrate. And when they do, they hit especially hard, or let's say they're especially effective because of all the mannered behavior, because of all the sardonic humor that's been going on. So that when we get a scene like Maria writing in her diary, it hits harder than it might have in a film that played purely seriously throughout. Let's have a look. It's heartbreaking to see this young woman with so much sort of verve, so much potential, so much joy, I guess you could say, for life, describing herself in such a way that she's just riddled with shame. one of the things that the film is about is Maria's journey of self-discovery, to use a cliche term, but it is her journey of self-discovery, finding those things about her, mainly her potential, and the potential for her life not to be something that she floats through, but something that she walks through, something where she makes choices. And that self-discovery is one of the things I love about this film, because Matthew is a very important character, and in a way meeting him is a catalyst for this kind of self-discovery. But it's never presented as Matthew being her savior. He gives her books. He takes her to the abortion clinic so she can talk with the nurse. He helps her on her journey to find the baby-snatching woman. But he doesn't shape her, I don't think. He doesn't mold her. He doesn't save her. And that's one of the film's powers, that yes, Maria benefits from her experiences. Yes, Maria benefits from the people around her. And yes, she benefits from meeting Matthew and starting to discover her own potential for understanding a kind of imaginative and ethical approach to her life in the world. But she makes that journey on her own. And as she makes her decisions about her relationship with Matthew, about abortion, about her future, throughout the film, it presents those decisions as her own, sometimes with the support of those around her, sometimes despite the hindrances put up by those around her. And I think that's quite rare for American cinema, and even American indie cinema, where there's a lot of like the magical other, you know, the manic pixie dream girl when it's a man's journey of self-discovery, or the sort of wise poetic man when it's a woman's journey of self-discovery. And one of the things about Trust that's so great is that it avoids those cliches. It flirts with them, it has fun with them, but it doesn't give in to them. And the film features this scene.
Did you mean it? Would you marry me?
Yes,
Why?
because I want to.
Not because you love me or anything like that, huh?
I respect and admire you.
Isn't that love?
No, that's respect and admiration. I think that's better than love.
How?
When people are in love, they do all sorts of crazy things. They get jealous, they lie, they cheat, they kill themselves, kill each other.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Maybe.
To be the father of a child you know isn't yours.
Kids are kids. What does it matter?
Do you trust me?
If you trust me first.
I trust you.
Sure?
Yes.
Then marry me.
I'll marry you if you admit that respect, admiration, and trust equal love.
Okay. They equal love.
Good. I trust you. Now it's your turn.
If I think back to that night, 1991, when I was sitting in the cinema, by the time this scene came around, I was already, the film had me. I'm yours, Trust. Take me wherever you want. And then this scene came along, and maybe it looks pedestrian in the context of a video like this, where you're not watching the whole film. Maybe with the lens of time, it's been 30 years, it doesn't seem as kind of wow as it did when I first saw it. But when I first saw this scene, I knew that I would be a fan and a supporter of this film forever. When the film ended, Teresa and I walked out into the night, 1:30, knowing we had an hour plus walk ahead of us because, as I said, the buses weren't running anymore. And as I recall it, all those years ago, neither of us said anything for a long time. Maybe it was only a minute, but you know how that minute can last. Maybe it was 5 or 6 minutes. And then for the next hour, we just talked about this film. We picked apart every scene. We compared Maria and Matthew. Whose film is it? We went over certain scenes again and again and again. And for the days that followed, we continued to talk about it. It was that kind of experience. I admire this film. I respect this film. I trust this film. I love this film. And I can't recommend it highly enough. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you've been watching my videos for a while, if you find them interesting, entertaining, educational, or anything else, please do me a favor and hit the like button for this video. And also, if it's not too much trouble, hit the subscribe button. It really helps out my channel and it lets me know that, people are responding. Also, drop a comment. Do you like Hal Hartley? Do you like Trust? Is it as good as I've said? Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, I'm Aaron Hunter. Keep watching movies.